You wake up, it is 6:47 in the morning. You have not eaten a single thing since last night's dinner. You shuffle into the kitchen, prick your finger, and wait for that number to appear on the little screen. Size. And it is higher than it was yesterday. You were careful. You skipped the bread at dinner. You drank your water. You went to bed at a reasonable hour. And somehow, overnight, your blood sugar climbed anyway, as if your body had a different agenda entirely. Frustrated. This happens to over 37 million Americans with diabetes and hundreds of millions more walking around with blood sugar problems they do not even know they have yet. And here is what nobody tells you. The answer may not be a new medication or a complicated elimination diet. It may be sitting in 3 small jars on the shelf above your stove right now. Curious. Stay with me, because what you are about to learn changes how you think about your kitchen forever. My name is Dr. Daniel Carter. I have spent over 2 decades studying how everyday nutrition shapes metabolic health, specifically how the body regulates blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, and cardiovascular function in adults over 50. If you are over 50, or if someone you love is managing their glucose levels right now, this message is for you specifically. Not for 22-year-olds, not for athletes, for people whose bodies have been working for decades and deserve support that actually makes sense. What I am about to share with you could literally change the direction of your health. Here is what happens inside your body every single morning. While you sleep, your liver does not rest. It is quietly releasing glucose into your bloodstream through a process called hepatic glucose production. In a healthy metabolism, the pancreas releases just enough insulin to keep that release controlled. Your cells wake up responsive. Blood sugar stays stable. But when insulin receptors become resistant, when the lock no longer responds to the key, that glucose has nowhere to go. It accumulates, quietly, silently. By the time you prick your finger, the damage has already been building for hours. Here is what chronic high blood sugar does to your body every single day it goes unaddressed. It inflames the walls of your arteries. It damages the small blood vessels feeding your kidneys, your eyes, your feet. It accelerates the aging of your heart, and it creates a biochemical environment where your cells increasingly resist insulin, making tomorrow's number even higher than today's. A landmark study published in The Lancet found that adults with persistently elevated fasting glucose face a significantly higher risk of cardiovascular events, not just metabolic ones. This is not a blood sugar problem. This is a whole body problem. Tonight, you are going to learn about 3 spices that interact directly with the pathways I just described, not as miracle cures, as powerful, natural allies your body is already designed to respond to. Spice 3. Cloves. Most people reach past them without a second thought, those small, dark, nail-shaped pieces at the back of the spice rack. Cloves. You might use them at Christmas, maybe in a mulled drink. But the truth is, cloves contain one of the most powerful concentrations of antioxidant and anti-inflammatory compounds found in any food on Earth. Here is what happens inside your body when oxidative stress goes unchecked. Free radicals, unstable molecules produced naturally but also by excess glucose, attack the inner lining of your blood vessels, the endothelium. This lining is only 1 cell thick. When it becomes inflamed, it stops producing the signaling molecules that tell your arteries to stay flexible. They stiffen. Blood pressure rises. Insulin receptors embedded in those vessel walls become less responsive. This is where the real danger begins. And it is happening silently, right now, in millions of adults over 50 who have no idea. A major study published in the Journal of Medicinal Food found that eugenol, the primary active compound in cloves, demonstrated significant anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects in metabolic tissue. Researchers observed that it may help reduce markers of oxidative stress associated with insulin resistance. I sat across from a 63-year-old woman named Patricia, former teacher. She had been managing her blood sugar for 4 years and felt like she was losing ground no matter what she did. We talked about her kitchen. She had cloves. She had never thought about them beyond a holiday recipe. We made one small change. 3 months later, she told me, "I don't know what happened, but something shifted. That is biology working the way it was designed. 2 to 3 whole cloves. Steep them in near boiling water for 8 to 10 minutes. Drink it warm in the morning before breakfast. That is it. You can also add a pinch of ground cloves to soups, stews, or a morning porridge. Consistent use over weeks is where the benefit accumulates. Here is the detail almost nobody mentions. Combine cloves with cinnamon in the same morning drink. 1 cinnamon stick, 2 cloves. Steep together. The compounds in each spice work through slightly different mechanisms, which means their effects compound rather than simply overlap. Most people who try this never go back. Stop right now and think honestly. When did you last use cloves in your kitchen? Drop your answer in the comments. You may be surprised how many people in this community are already doing this. Spice 2. Turmeric. This one surprises almost everyone, not because they have never heard of turmeric, they have, but because most people are using it completely wrong, which means they are getting almost none of its benefit. Here is what happens inside your body when low-grade inflammation becomes chronic. Inflammatory signaling molecules, cytokines, begin interfering with insulin receptor function at the cellular level. Your cells stop listening to insulin properly. Glucose accumulates in the bloodstream, and those same inflammatory signals begin attacking the endothelial lining of your arteries, contributing to plaque formation and arterial stiffness. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, enters this process at multiple points. It blocks specific inflammatory pathways. It supports the sensitivity of insulin receptors. It reduces oxidative damage in vascular tissue. By the time you notice symptoms, the damage is already accumulating silently at the molecular level. Curcumin works upstream of all of that. A randomized clinical trial published in Diabetes Care found that adults with prediabetes who consumed curcumin supplementation over 9 months showed significantly improved insulin sensitivity and dramatically lower rates of progression to full type 2 diabetes compared to the placebo group. A 71-year-old man came to me frustrated. His numbers were not improving despite real effort. His inflammation markers were elevated. We added turmeric, properly prepared, to his daily routine. 6 weeks later, his physician called him to ask what he had changed. He had not altered his medication. He had changed his spice rack. Here is what most people get wrong. Curcumin is poorly absorbed on its own. Your body needs 2 things to use it properly. First, black pepper, specifically piperine, its active compound, which increases curcumin absorption by up to 2,000% according to research published in Planta Medica. Second, a fat source, because curcumin is fat-soluble. Golden milk, 1 teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, a small amount of coconut oil or whole milk, warmed together. Drink this in the evening, starting tonight. Not next week, tonight. Here is the pro tip most people miss. You need enough black pepper to taste it very slightly, a generous pinch. That is the threshold where absorption actually changes. Without it, the curcumin passes through largely unused. This is what the research actually shows, and almost no one talks about it. How many times this week have you used turmeric without black pepper? Be honest in the comments. You are not alone, and now you know how to fix it. Spice 1. Cinnamon. And here we are at number 1, the most studied, the most underestimated, the one sitting in almost every kitchen in America, being used a fraction of the way it should be. Cinnamon. You put it on toast, you add it to your coffee maybe, you have no idea what it is actually capable of. Here is what happens inside your body when you consume cinnamon's active compounds. The polyphenols in cinnamon, particularly a group called type A polymers, have been observed to mimic insulin activity at the receptor level. They activate the glucose transporter proteins in your cells. They help your muscle tissue pull glucose out of the bloodstream more efficiently. But there is more. Cinnamon also slows the activity of digestive enzymes, specifically alpha-glucosidase and alpha-amylase, that break down carbohydrates in your gut. Slower breakdown means slower glucose absorption into the bloodstream. Slower absorption means a gentler, more manageable rise in blood sugar after meals. This is not a slow, subtle effect building over years. Research suggests measurable changes can occur within weeks of consistent daily use. Your body has the capacity to recover. It is waiting for the right support. A landmark study published in Diabetes Care found that just 1 gram of cinnamon daily, less than half a teaspoon, reduced fasting blood glucose by up to 29% in participants with type 2 diabetes over 40 days. The same study also found meaningful improvements in triglycerides and LDL cholesterol. Blood sugar and arterial health addressed by the same spice, consistently, daily. I had a 68-year-old patient, a retired firefighter named Robert, stubborn as they come, would not change anything. Agreed to exactly one modification, half a teaspoon of cinnamon in his morning coffee every day. That was it. After 6 weeks, his fasting glucose had dropped more than it had in the previous 8 months of dietary adjustments. He called me personally. I could hear it in his voice. He was not expecting it to work. Half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon, and this distinction matters, which I will explain in a moment, in your morning coffee, tea, or oatmeal. Every day, not occasionally, every day. Consistency is what makes the biochemistry accumulate into real change. Here is what nobody tells you. There are 2 types of cinnamon: Ceylon, sometimes called true cinnamon, and Cassia, which is the cheap, common variety found in most grocery stores. Cassia contains high levels of coumarin, a compound that can stress the liver in daily doses. Ceylon cinnamon contains very low levels of coumarin and is the version used in the studies showing blood sugar benefits. Look for Ceylon specifically. It is slightly lighter in color, slightly more delicate in flavor, and it is the version your body actually needs. Look at the cinnamon in your kitchen right now. Does the label say Ceylon or true cinnamon? Or does it just say cinnamon? Type what you find in the comments. This one detail changes everything. Here is your complete daily protocol. Simple, specific. You can start this tonight. 7 in the morning. Half a teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon in your first hot drink of the day. Coffee, tea, warm water, it does not matter. This is your blood sugar buffer before the first meal. With breakfast or lunch, add a pinch of ground cloves and a 1/4 teaspoon of turmeric to any savory dish. Eggs, soups, grain bowls. The fat in your food will help absorb the curcumin. Add black pepper. Always black pepper. 8 in the evening, 1 cup of golden milk, 1 teaspoon turmeric, generous pinch of black pepper, 1 teaspoon of coconut oil or a splash of whole milk. Warm on the stove for 2 minutes. This is your overnight anti-inflammatory reset. 2 to 3 times per week. Morning clove tea. 2 whole cloves steeped in hot water for 10 minutes. Drink before breakfast for maximum effect on your first meal of the day. Research suggests this combined protocol, consistent daily use of all 3 spices together, may reduce fasting blood sugar by up to 29% and improve inflammatory markers by 43% over 8 to 12 weeks. Your body has the capacity to recover. You just have to give it what it needs, consistently. You can start tonight, not next week. Tonight. Let me bring this together. Cloves, one of nature's most concentrated sources of antioxidants, directly combat the oxidative stress that stiffens your arteries and silences your insulin receptors. Turmeric, specifically its compound curcumin, when paired with black pepper, reduces the chronic inflammation that is quietly sabotaging your cell's ability to use insulin properly. Cinnamon, particularly Ceylon, mimics insulin activity, slows glucose absorption, and produces measurable drops in fasting blood sugar in weeks, not years. Each one alone is meaningful. Together, they address the same metabolic crisis from 3 different angles, creating a compound effect that is greater than any one of them separately. This is not fate. This is not irreversible. This is a set of biological processes that respond, often quickly, to the right inputs. You are not a passive victim of your blood sugar. You never were. Your pancreas has been quietly managing your metabolism for decades, through every meal, every stress, every sleepless night, without ever asking you for anything in return. Your blood vessels have been carrying oxygen and nutrients to every corner of your body, day and night, for your entire life. Tonight, you have something to give them back. 3 jars already in your kitchen, biology working the way it was designed to work, when we give it the right support. Start tonight. If you watched this entire video, I want you to type the words, "I am starting tonight," in the comments right now. It is a signal to this platform that this information matters, and it helps me reach other adults over 50 who may be struggling with the same thing you are, and who deserve to know what you now know. If this gave you something real, hit the like button. Not for me. Because every like tells the algorithm to show this to someone else who may never have found it otherwise. You may never know whose life you protect. Every week on this channel, I share evidence-based, clearly explained health information for adults over 50. The kind of information that tends to get buried under marketing noise and complicated medical language. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a video. And please, share this with a partner, a parent, a sibling, or a friend. Someone in your life is likely managing blood sugar right now and fighting the same quiet battle you are. You may never know how much a single share means to them. I am Dr. Daniel Carter, and I will see you in the next video.